Hi, Emerald Ajala here. In this video, I'd like to go over some tips for beginners, especially things that you need to be aware of if you're just starting out as a new sewist. I have been sewing for close to 10 years now, thereabout, and I can say that knowing how to sew is a good thing. Even if you don't do it professionally, at least it allows you to do some basic projects for yourself at least. So in no particular order, I will list out about 12 tips that I have come to realize when I started my journey, and hopefully this will be useful for you. First, you need to get yourself a sewing machine. I dare say you don't need to have a fancy machine. All you need is a basic machine that comes with the basic stitches. If you cannot get yourself a new machine, as in the brand new, obviously by all means please get a used one. The idea is you start simple, and as you go along you will upgrade into the more technical and fancy machines. On the other hand, you might want to invest in a serger. This will just make your work and your seams neat. That's all there is to it about the serger. And second point is, once you've gotten your sewing machine, then you want to get familiar with how the machine works. Most machines come with a manual. Even if you get the used ones, it comes with a manual, and in the manual it has like a DVD that you can watch on your device. However, if you don't have a DVD, you can get on YouTube. There are several tutorials that will teach you how to work the machine. Okay, and then the third point is get the basic sewing supplies. What I mean by this is the tape measure, your scissors, your pins, your rulers, your tailoring chalk or pen, seam ripper, you need that one. These are tools that will give you a good head start as you start the sewing journey. Okay, and also if you want to use a rotary cutter, well, I think as a beginner you can use it. The rotary cutter just gives you a fine, clean, cut to your seams, and that's just about the rotary cutter. And the fourth point I'd like to mention is there are different sewing needles. No one told me this. I had to discover this on my own, so I'm pointing this out to you. Please know that there are different needles for different fabrics. You have needles for sewing the jeans materials, needles for sewing the stretchy fabrics, needles for sewing the delicate fabrics like silk, chiffon, and all that, and of course the general or universal needle. At this point, because it's a beginner stage, you might want to stick with the needles that sew the general fabric. Okay, so be aware that there are different needles for different fabrics. And the fifth point is practice with scraps. Yes, scrap fabrics like from old clothes, old bed sheets, old pillowcases. You see, you want to use scraps so that you can practice straight and curved stitches. So if you want to invest in buying fabrics new, that's all well and good. I was more of an adventurous beginner. I purchased some new fabrics, albeit the very cheap ones. So what I literally saying is, either you use scraps or you purchase fabrics that are new, but please make them very cheap and very simple. Okay, and then number 6 point I believe is take your time. Yes, take your time. This is not a race. You can go slowly, and I mean you can be as slow as a snail. As you get used to sewing, to the cutting, to your sewing machine, then you can increase your speed. This is not a race. Trust me, it is not a race. And the 7th point is, if you're working with a commercial pattern, please note that you can actually fit or adjust your pattern to your body type, because sometimes you might just pick up the commercial pattern, cut, and then you sew, and then all of a sudden you see that it doesn't fit well or it doesn't sit well. That's because sometimes the way they are drafted, it might not indicate that you can actually adjust it to your body type. So please note that you can adjust the commercial pattern to your body type to suit your project. Okay, I don't usually work with commercial pattern. I do more of the flat pattern drafting. That is, I draft my pattern myself, and so that is what I do most of the time. The 8th point is start with the stable fabrics. Stable fabrics are fabrics like cotton and linen. This is because these fabrics don't move, and as a beginner you want fabrics that are stable on your sewing machine, that won't give you problems. Please avoid fabrics like jersey, like jeans, like the silk, chiffon, those fabrics that move about. They're going to give you a lot of problems. Avoid those kind of fabrics and stick to the stable ones like the cotton and linen. This fabric I am wearing is made with cotton. It's African print, but it's cotton, so you want to use fabrics like this to start to sew. And my 9th point will be also stick to simple projects like tote bags, basic garments, pillowcases, things like that. Projects that focus on simple seams, simple hems and the zippers. You would have to go through this process and learn how to start from the basics, and then once you get hold of the basics, then you can build on the basic knowledge. That is how it works. And the 10th point is, I would say, learn how to use the pins. Yes, I know some people are scared of pins. However, there are the sewing clips, but I can tell you from my experience that the pins are more effective because you are able to get into certain areas of your fabric using the pins instead of the clip. But by all means, you can use the clips if that works for you. This is to make sure that your fabrics don't move as you cut or as you're sewing. And by the way, if you're using the pins, you cannot sew over your pins. They will damage your fabric, or sorry, they will damage your sewing machine, and it can cause an injury. So please note, you cannot sew over your pins. And the 11th point will be don't be scared to make mistakes. Yes, I said it, don't be scared of making mistakes. Trust me, we all make mistakes. Mistake is all part of the process. This is the only way you can learn. Don't get discouraged by your mistake or get upset that, oh, the next person is doing well. Trust me, that next person has made loads of mistakes and they are still making mistakes. Yes, they are still making mistakes. I told you earlier on, I've been sewing for close to 10 years now. I still make mistakes. It's part of the learning process. So with sewing, just be patient with yourself. This is very important. Be very patient. Sewing takes practice and persistence. So practice a lot and be persistent with it. And my 12th point, which is the final one, enjoy the process. Sewing is a creative or a therapeutic outlet, depending on what you make of it. So relax and have fun while at it. I hope you find all these tips useful. Take care and please subscribe and follow for more. Have a blessed one.